Hey, what's up guys, it's Apollo Uchiha here, back with another part of What If Naruto Was the 5th Hokage. And if you like this part, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel if you like the content of this channel. And yeah guys, I have already uploaded the next part of What If Naruto Was Sent Back in Time. You can check that out as well. And yeah, without further ado, let's continue our story. With Kakashi in Konoha's hospital, Kakashi sighed for what seemed like the millionth time today. He was waiting for his friends to visit him, but it seems as if they had other things to do. Now that he thought about it, they all stopped coming around after he said the stuff about Naruto being Hokage. He really hoped they didn't take it the wrong way. It was just a misunderstanding. If they thought he was being disloyal or unfaithful, he would follow the Hokage no matter who it was, even Naruto. Wait, that came out wrong. He meant to say that he believed that those who picked the Hokage role would always pick the best for the job. And that person was Naruto, it seemed. Truth to be told, he loved his student, especially Naruto. The kid was just so full of life. It was astonishing how dare he say it. Youthful. Kami-sama. That was hard to get out. Anyways, Naruto was just so youthful and always ready to take on a challenge. The boy also had a gift for bringing out the best in people. He did it to Zabuza and Haku as well as Gaara, it seemed. So there was no telling who would be next. Now back to what he was saying. Kakashi believed in Naruto. He just didn't think the kid was ready to be Hokage. As of now, the Hokage is the leader of the entire Leaf Village. He just thought that Naruto should wait a few more years before taking the position. Now what exactly did he say? Oh yes, he said that Naruto didn't have any of the power to back up his title. Well, it was true as far as he knew. Besides Shadow Clones and QB, he didn't know of any other abilities Naruto had. But that didn't mean Naruto couldn't be trained. He wanted to tell them that Jiraiya-sama was going to train Naruto further so he would have the power and skills to back up the title, but he didn't know if Jiraiya-sama wanted people to know of his training Naruto. It was training to combat the Akatsuki at first, but now it would be pushing 10 times harder and faster now that the boy was Hokage. He also said Naruto lacked the intelligence to be Hokage. Well, that was kind of true. The Naruto he knew was hyperactive, impatient and clueless to just about everything. The boy held plenty of intelligence in the midset of battle. But as Hokage, a position which required political and mental acuteness, he was fairly sure Naruto would be eaten alive by just the civilian council and their tricky ways, although he still thought Naruto could be taught and that if that didn't work, the boy could always prank the crap out of them. That would be funny now. The point was, Naruto was still a kid, and to place a kid in charge of sharks like the council, mainly the civilian council, was asking for him to be eaten alive. But still, he had faith in Naruto. He said Naruto was the weakest of his team. Now that must have come from the meds he had been on at the time. Because he was sure that Sakura was the weakest of his team. Naruto was arguably the strongest. The reason he says arguably is because some would say Sasuke's natural genius would be a fair match against Naruto's hard-working genius. Truth to be told, he wasn't sure which of his two students would win in an all-out battle. But he did hope he'd never find out, and that is never happened. And on to his last point, Sasuke. He said Sasuke would have been a better choice for Hokage, yes, but what he meant to say was that Sasuke would have been an easier choice as Hokage, but he was sure that Uchiha boy would never take the position if asked. The reason he thought Sasuke as an easier choice was because of a few simple facts. One, Sasuke already had the support of the villagers, whereas Naruto would have to fight tooth and nail for their liking. Sasuke was already calm, quiet and reserved, while Naruto would have to be trained by the Hyuga to get like that. Sasuke had the Sharingan, which meant that if Sasuke was trained by, say, someone like Orochimaru, and please perish that thought, then he'd have been at least S ranked in 3 years, especially with Orochimaru's love of jutsu. And then there was the battle during the invasion. He wanted the reports from Pakun, his ninja dog, but the little guy was blown away and dispelled before he was too much. The last thing the lead ninja dog saw was Sasuke laughing at Gaara with a Chidori. He didn't hear any more. about it until he was walking down the streets the other day, to which he heard two civilian women talking about the battle. He just assumed they overheard some ninjas who had seen or glimpsed the battle talking about it. He wanted to question his students about it, but he thought it wouldn't do to have their egos inflate at their sensei asking about the battle against one of the 9 demon lords and its Jinchuriki. He had, however, overheard Sakura thanking Sasuke for saving her when Naruto was pestering him about Chidori training. He didn't get to catch Sasuke's reply to her thank because he was focused on Naruto, but he was sure it would be a curt grunt nod and walking away into the setting sun. As if the boy was just that cool. Yeah, right. Only he was that cool. Oh well. He just had to question Naruto as soon as the boy was back in the village with Tsunade, and he was healed. He had such a thoughtful student, but Naruto always was the nicest of them and the most, as well as least tolerable. The boy, well, really was just nice. While Kakashi Hatake, was sick and couldn't move a part of his body without incredible metal pain shooting through it. What did Naruto do? Go and get the strongest magic ninja ever to heal him. And apparently Sasuke, yeah, he'd have to talk to Sasuke about that later. But first he's questioned Naruto on what really happened during the invasion. He'd be sure that nothing was going to stop him, or he'd shove a Chidori's someplace they wouldn't like. The link break with Jiraiya and Orochimaru. They clanged and clashed many of times as their titanic battle went on. They reappeared again after many of clashes, hanging upside down on the shack and Orochimaru on his snake, which was still stuck in the swamp Jiraiya had created. Jiraiya was feeling worse with each passing second, but he managed to escape death from the poison of Orochimaru's cursed sword, Kusanagi. The thing Toad oil straightened from the Toad Mountain could do. Normally it would have evaporated in minutes of being in the normal world, but when it stayed in the human liver, helping to purify the body, it could easily redirect it to a wound. If done by a master such as himself, that gave him the power to use Sage Mode on just that one spot and cleared away most of the poison. Now all was left was the tremendous pain that came with small amount of fatal poison. Know that, but a hell a lot of pain. Just look at you, Jiraiya. They used to call you the Toe Madman, but now you're hopping alone in and out of the village. And with that brat in the tow, you really have fallen, haven't you? Trust me, I've always had a good eye for talent, and with that one, all I see is insipid mediocrity. Orochimaru said as they rested from their battle. Having jumped to the top of the snakehead, Orochimaru watched from the corner of his eyes as Naruto was kicked away by Kabuto. His eyes went back to Jiraiya, the most dangerous opponent he'd ever faced. No matter what he said, Jiraiya was the most powerful person he had ever seen. Not Itachi, not Pain, and not anyone else could compare to the few times he had seen Jiraiya serious during the Third Great Shinobi War. Those were sights he was both proud and somewhat fearful of. When someone had endangered him or Tsunade, Jiraiya killed them, and killed them hard. As he and Jiraiya swapped more dialogues, it seems to him that this Jiraiya battle was about nothing but the future instead. He wouldn't boast about Sasuke's natural talent right about now, while Jiraiya would defend Naruto's amazing potential and drive to never give up. Or they could just go at each other's throats like that. And as they talked more and more, it seems to him that both boys were going to follow in their footsteps, as if they were fathers to them. Sasuke, much like himself, had natural talent, loved by people, and was hailed as a genius. But Naruto was so much like Jiraiya that it wasn't even laughable. It was almost as if he was Jiraiya's own direct descendant, the way the two compared. Both were thought as losers, failures, and dead last of the academy, yet both were or had proven people wrong on all those accounts. He had saw Naruto fight the Chunin exams, so he knew Naruto was just like Jiraiya, an underdog to win all bets against him. And as all this was going through his mind, he wondered about the two boys. From what he saw during the exams, they were close, like he and Jiraiya had been. They were brothers, just like he and Jiraiya were still. Even though they both wouldn't deny it up and down, they both knew they could never hate their trusted friend. Even now, Jiraiya's spy network was the best and had found him and his hideouts plenty of times, but Jiraiya had never told Konoha a thing about him. He and Jiraiya would bump into each other from time to time, and it was pleasant. A little talking, some outlandish battles or sparrings for them. He'd escape, and Jiraiya would go back to on the road. If they truly were out to simply kill one another, then they'd have done it in the last 13 years. If so, don't you think? Hell, he even let Jiraiya catch on to his plan about the Chunin exam, and he never attacked the Leaf Village unless Jiraiya was there. It was nice, their little game of ninja and such. His fleeting goals for power and immortality. Jiraiya traveled to find the child of prophecy. Sometimes he wanted to go back to Konoha, but then he remembered why he left, to get away from the people who judged him for all his imperfections. He was a Sanin, a legendary ninja, yet he was only human. But those people didn't see it that way. They saw him as a monster for his own experiments. They saw a criminal who wasn't socially accepted. Jiraiya didn't see that. Jiraiya saw him as his human teammate who was making medical advances and trying to reach his dreams, his goals. Jiraiya saw him for who he was, a person, a human being who only wanted to escape his fears and have a dream to always work towards. Orochimaru wasn't stupid. He had figured out long ago, about 15 years actually, that true immortality was obtainable unless granted by a kami or demon. Then it'll be true, like Mother Uchiha, that lucky bastard. Anyways, he knew his dream wasn't reachable, but he also knew that it wasn't about the dream, but the long and rough road to it. So he became the monster they saw him as. But to Jiraiya, he was only a brother who needed someone in the whole world to tell him he was a human and loved. In not a romantic way, of course. Wait, time to get off the road of memories and emotion and back to his original thoughts. Anyways, it was disturbing to think that those two boys could be ripped apart like him and Jiraiya. He could tell Naruto would grow as powerful as Jiraiya, but what of Sasuke? Sasuke would need someone to show him the ropes of being the snake to the toad Naruto would become. Sasuke would need to complement Naruto's stupidity with his own cool, calm genius, the same as Jiraiya and he. He wondered who could do it besides him. He would hate himself if he put Sasuke, Naruto and the other people around the two through the same crap he and Jiraiya went through. He wanted Anko to do it. Oh, how he loved messing with his former student. She was just too excitable and far too easy to scare. She thought he was some evil demon who came back every few years just to make her life miserable. Oh, if only she knew the truth. Anyways, he knew she could teach him the things he'd really need, except for the being frightening, creepy and weird as hell parts. No, he'd have to do it himself. But in what way could he do it without the people hating Sasuke like they did, and still to him? Bah, he'll think about it later on. Link break. Orochimaru, you seem rather distracted, Jiraiya said as he stood straight up from his stance. He could tell no one was watching and he knew of his friend's thought. Yes, I was thinking about things and, well, stuff, Orochimaru casually said with a sigh as he sat on his snake back. Jiraiya walked over to him. So you really think it's gonna have to come to that, huh? Jiraiya asked as he stood in front of Orochimaru while the snake signing. It will be the only way. Uncle never got to part 2 of my training, and I never taught another student after. So it's only that way, unless Orochimaru said and explained his stroke of genius to Jiraiya as he told Saint Green. Sounds perfect to me. You snake fag of a genius, let's do it. Although I may have to be out of the village when you incate it. Can't have people knowing I knew, Jiraiya said as Orochimaru stood up. No, we can't. Although I'm curious, will you be telling young Naruto of this plan? You told obsessed idiot, Orochimaru asked as he eyed the boy. Apparently Naruto was holding off Kabuto's attempts to get to Tsunade. I probably will, but if I do, then your plans may change, Jiraiya said with a serious face. For the first time in many years, Orochimaru's face held confusion and interest. You see, Naruto has been since you attacked the village. he became the goddamn Hokage. Jiraiya said. Orochimaru gasped like a fish. What the hell? How could they make the brat Hokage? He isn't powerful nor intelligent. Orochimaru said, about to go into a rant when Jiraiya held up a hand stopping him. There was something about that grin on his face that made Orochimaru uneasy. Actually, what you see now is the Naruto that you knew, but the one he's becoming is a whole new other level than us. You were always the best sensor ninja of our team. Surely you should be able to sense out Naruto's true level power. Jiraiya said as he gestured towards Naruto, who was doing a Rasengan with a shadow clone. Orochimaru closed his eyes and focused on Naruto's being. He felt there were two layers of powers, almost as if Naruto was holding back his true power. He could see three forms of power. The form Naruto was using now, which was less than 1% than all of that power. The second form, which was the most focused and control of them all, that form was more than 45% of all the power. And the third form, which was QB, was the most out of the control and unrefined form, which was 55% of all the power. But Orochimaru could sense that QB's chakra was being steadily drained into the two other forms. Orochimaru predicted that within the year that QB's chakra would become Naruto's own completely if he continued to get this into situations like this, which called for more of QB's power, like healing Naruto or just plain using the beast chakras. Jiraiya. Indeed, little Naruto has grown powerful, almost as powerful as we. But how? Orochimaru asked as he was sure Jiraiya knew that answer. By the way, the Toad Sage was grinning ear to ear. Ah yes, well the boy is doing a training which would kill anyone else, even we of the Sanin. Jiraiya said nonchalantly with a shrug as if he was talking about the weather. Well, Orochimaru gasped, but quickly schooled his face with a gleam in his eyes. And this training is shadow clones. Jiraiya answered as Orochimaru's jaw dropped. Truth to be told, he himself had been training using shadow clones, but each time he did, he was hospitalized for a week from the mental strain alone. Damn those 20 clones for dispelling at once. Interesting, Orochimaru said as his eyes widened upon seeing Naruto slam a Rasengan into Kabuto's stomach for a second time today. He knew for personal experience that Kabuto would be feeling that in the morning even with his healing jutsu. Link break. So want to finish the little spar of ours? Jiraiya said as Orochimaru kept his eyes fixated on Naruto and then flickered them to Tsunade, who was healing the boy from whatever Kabuto had done to him. No, I think I'll just battle Tsunade instead, Orochimaru said nonchalantly with a smirk as he shot down off his snake back. Jiraiya's eyes twitched for a second after hearing Orochimaru's statement. Oh no you don't. She's my Tsunehime. Don't hurt her, you snake queen, Jiraiya said as he jumped down off the snake himself. After Orochimaru turned back and shot his tongue at Jiraiya, wrapping it around the older man's leg. What the devil? Jiraiya yelled as he was then slammed into the ground with no mercy. Damn that boy-obsessed snake lover. Better luck next time, Jiraiya baka, Orochimaru yelled back with a chuckle as he flew towards an injured Naruto and Tsunade, who was healing said injured boy. You cheating bastard! Jiraiya groaned out loudly, which made Orochimaru chuckle more. I'm evil, remember? It's what we do. Orochimaru yelled back with mirth as he made his sword, Kusanagi, come forth of his mouth. Tsunade got in front of Naruto, believing Orochimaru was going to stab the boy. Orochimaru wanted to laugh out loud, but years of being the cool, calm and collected one forced him not to. Having glanced down at Naruto's body, he saw that Tsunade had placed her necklace on the boy. It was only because he was still looking at the necklace did he see Naruto's eyes peek open and then close once again. Orochimaru almost choked on his sword because of laughter. So the boy had either faked his injuries, which was unlikely, or he knew he'd be healed much quicker than the injuries could even become a problem. Maybe the boy was better suited to be Hokage than he, Orochimaru, had first given credit for. Orochimaru quickly thought up some lies Tsunade would believe, but mostly they were half truths. As soon as he figured out exactly what he was going to say, he pulled his sword from Tsunade's chest and recalled both his sword and tongue, which had still been wrapped around Jiraiya's leg. Tsunade, you are the only person I wouldn't want to kill. Listen to me. If that brat is allowed to live, it'll mean more trouble than you and your friends than you can possibly imagine. Stay out of this, Orochimaru said as believable as he could, which was in cold indifference. No, you listen to me. If I do nothing else, I will protect this boy. Tsunade said throughout ragged breaths and the quivering of her own body. Orochimaru couldn't help but smirk at the sight. Tsunade could have been a world-class actress if she wasn't from Senju family. And we all know how appearances are to ninja family. And how do you plan to do that? Look at you, your body is shivering like a leaf in the wind. Besides, why would you, one of the sons, risk your life for a lowly cannon? Orochimaru said, but deliberately paused at the boy's rank. Tsunade didn't seem to notice the Naruto's body tense a bit. So Jiraiya wasn't joking. The obnoxious brat really was the goddamn Hokage. Interesting indeed. By saving him, I'm saving my home. The village hidden in the leaves. Konoha! Tsunade said as Orochimaru frowned at hearing that. He still hated the village for its sudden persecutions of him after everything he had done for it. So what if he experimented on criminals and missing ninjas after he helped them win not one but two wars? Don't you think they could have been a little more grateful? So you're really thinking you're protecting the village? Orochimaru said coldly as he could. Truth to be told, not many people recognized that he referred to Konoha as the village instead of his former village or Konoha. He still had love for some things in the village. Hell, he even tried to kill Itachi under the guise that he wanted the boy's eyes. Yeah, Itachi saw through that and cut off his hands for it, the bastard. Then Itachi told him that if he wanted to do a justice to Konoha as their village, then he might want to keep it on its toes, so to speak. Hence, when he terrorized the village every now and then, it was just a little drill to keep it safe from real enemies. Seeing Tsunade move, having been shaken from his thoughts by the sight, he watched her look back at Naruto with much softer eyes than he could remember her having in a long time of years. He had to attribute that the war and the ninja lifestyle. She smiled down at the sleeping boy, quote unquote, as she began to speak, still shaking from her fears and memories. You see, this boy, this lowly little cannon, has been chosen to be Hokage someday. I can feel it, can't you, Orochimaru? I will be Hokage, as will he. He has the same will of fire that they all had. My grandfather, granduncle, Sarutobi-sensei, Nawaki, and Don. They risked their lives for the village, and now I understand that they didn't do it just to become Hokage, but to protect people like him, those who would have the bravery and courage to stand up against the evils of the shinobi world. This is why I'll stand up for him and protect him to my death. Tsunade said as she began to stand shakily. Shizune and Jiraiya woke up just in time to hear Orochimaru's reply. You're half dead already, Orochimaru exclaimed as he kicked her over Naruto and backed onto the ground. He made his sword come from his mouth and lunged at her. Tsunade-sama, Shizune screamed but before he stabbed into her, she vanished. Damn, not enough time, Jiraiya thought as he prepared to do a jutsu. But just as he reached her with all instead to stab her, she vanished. What the devil? Orochimaru asked loudly as everyone was shocked as well. I believe that you've done quite enough, Orochimaru. From here on out, your opponent shall be I, Naruto Uzumaki. A calm and somewhat cold voice said in monotone from behind Orochimaru. The Saiyan Sanin turned back with wide eyes as he gazed at the new Naruto. Tsunade was holding onto his arms as Naruto turned his cold, curdling blue eyes towards Orochimaru. This one really is on a whole another level, Orochimaru thought as he took in Naruto's noble yet samurai-like form. Although what unsettled Orochimaru the most was not his form, but the lack of killer intent, anger, and hate in Naruto's words. Normally in battle, a person would be leaking out ki and emotions by the gallon, yet Naruto was not. Almost as if the boy didn't need to intimidate or scare him, but knew that he would simply fight Orochimaru and win. Except there was no air of arrogance either, but merely the knowledge of being fully aware of the limits of his ability and those of his opponents. Alright then, little Naruto, let us begin. Orochimaru was saying but was cut off when Tsunade was kicking him in the face, hurling his body to be on the side of Kobuto. How? Orochimaru said as he got up. Then he realized Tsunade's diamond marking at the center of her forehead was gone, yet replaced some form of seals that spread across her face. Orochimaru flickered his eyes to the other and found that the only one who had any other emotion evident on their faces other than surprise was Shizune. No, Tsunade-sama, wait! Let me treat your wounds. Please don't break the seal. Shizune yelled as Tsunade placed her hands in a hand sign. They could all feel Tsunade's enormous chakra bearing down on them as she focused. Yin seal, release, ninja art, mitotic regeneration. Orochimaru and the others watched in amazement as all of the Tsunade's cut and stabs wounds healed as if they never were there before. He almost ruled at the jutsu, but stopped himself as this was a serious moment. It seems I'm not the only person who's been spending their time creating new jutsus. This one's very impressive. Someone telling me how it's done. Orochimaru said as Tsunade smirked at him. My chakra. For years I stored it away in a space behind my forehead. When I release the seal on the chakra, it disappears and stimulates the portions of my body to increase the speed of cell division and deconstruction of cells for as long as I have enough chakra. This allows me to recreate all organs and tissues. It's like having the ability to reincarnate myself. You see, you can slash away at me all you want, but I can't be killed. Tsunade said as Orochimaru kept a poker face, but on the inside he was cursing her and her jutsu, because he didn't have it. Link break, Kyubi-sensei. Is that medical book I read last night? Didn't it say that a person can only regenerate a fixed number of cells in their lifetime? Not of thought as Kyubi-sensei nodded, yes, and by speeding up this process, the woman is shortening her own life by at least the span of a week. It seems she is able to direct the cells mentally to repair whatever needed to be instead of having every cell doing it at once. It seems by a technique you'll need. So I'll do the seal while storing massive amount of my chakra, purified chakra into it. Although you may be also use this chakra for anything else. Kyubi-sensei said as Naruto thought it over for a bit. Hey, instead of it being on my forehead and a diamond, can it be like a tattoo on my chest or something? And somewhere else? Naruto asked mentally as Kyubi-sensei nodded with a grin. You want it to be a black and in the shape of a blossom plant at home? Kyubi-sensei asked teasingly as Naruto nodded. What? It'll be totally badass, Naruto said as Kyubi-sensei chuckled and went to work. Just so you know, I'm sealing off 80% of all your power and mine. That means you'll be limited to only 20% of your full power. Kyubi-sensei said as Naruto understood. He looked down at his chest and he saw a black flower print bubble up from his very skin. It was then he noticed that he was wearing Tsunade's necklace. He would have watched it more, but then he heard Shizune. Link-break. Tsunade-sama! Shizune exclaimed as Naruto turned to see Tsunade draw a line of blood down her wrist that could only mean one thing. Orochimaru-sama! Kabuto exclaimed as Orochimaru gave Kabuto his hand while Naruto had blurred to Jiraiya's side. Naruto, do it quickly, then close up that swamp I made. Jiraiya yelled as Naruto took the blood from his cut hand and rubbed it on the palm of Jiraiya's hand. He then ran through a hand sign and pressed both hands to the ground as the swamp behind them closed into the barren earth. Summoning Jutsu, the three legendary sons exclaimed as in unison as they all summoned their left hands to the ground in unity. Just then, all view from the outside was obscured as three large clouds of smoke erupted into the air. The wind blew, and in the place of the smoke clouds were three gigantic animals, the toad, the snake, and the slug. Better known as Kamabunta, the toad was Manda, the snake lord, and Katsuyu, the slug queen, the three most powerful summons in the world. As this is where I'm going to be leaving this part of, guys. I hope you like this one, and if you do, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And this is Apollo Uchiha, and I'm signing out. Peace.